Okay, it appears we are probably officially live here. Just give me 1 second here. I'm going to kick off and check my audio and make sure we're broadcasting okay. Looks pretty good on my end there. So looks like the audio is okay. So welcome everybody, and to this week's edition of Wisdom Wednesday. And Coach Smith coming to you from here at my humble abode. Finished up some pretty busy day in the shop and rushed myself home to do the broadcast from here at home, just to kind of give it a little more sound quality instead of being down in the basement at the center. So for everybody that's popping in, please, stop by, give me a hi, make sure, give me the thumbs up. You can hear me okay out there. Um, Love to see who's on the feed so I can put some names and faces to it. So, Carrie, I know you're at League right now, and definitely have some exciting stuff to share on your end as well. Jim Weber, my friend, I hope you're doing well. We've been doing a lot of praying for you, my friend, with the going through what you did. Mr. Anderson, one of these days, pal, we're going to catch up, hopefully soon, catch you in a tournament. Justin, good to see you on here, Justin. Hope that back is doing well, my friend, and getting you back on the lane soon and learning that moving some heavy stuff at our advanced ages is not in our best interest anymore. So, Mike Hess, what's going on, my man? Again, another one. Hope you're doing well. I haven't ran into you for a little while. Hopefully the knees allowing you to do a little bit of bowling there and doing the left-handed thing there and kind of try to learn it all over again. Who else we got on here? Stop by and say hello before we get into the content. I think we have a pretty good broadcast for tonight. Then I'm going to do, some explaining a little bit of my, my feedback when it comes to arsenal building and just how I approach it with individuals who come to me and they're working with me within the center or from afar, and I'm giving them some advice as they're building with another pro shop operator. So I think it's some critical information, and I want to make sure that I share my opinion on it, not just from tournament play. I mean, this comes into league play as well, and from the ranks of just kind of getting into the sport all the way up to the professional level. From years working out on as a ball rep as well. So all these things kind of tie together, and I think we'll tie this in and make some sense out of it and get our creative juices, kind of flowing and understanding. Steven, especially for the upcoming USBC Nationals. I don't know if I missed the start of that, but maybe you're saying, building a bag for USBC Nationals, which is, it's a little tough, but going in there blind. But we usually know USBC Nationals are, they're a little lower ratio. Depending on the year, there's usually a bounce spot. You got to work together as a team. But definitely having a well-refined bag is going to be important to go out there as you have limited choices. Now at least you can roll the bags out to the lanes. Years ago when I came up on USBC Nationals, you could only essentially, use whatever you could carry out in your own power one time. So if you were taking 6 balls out to the lanes, you were taking 6 double ball bags out, or you were carrying 2 triples. You weren't allowed to roll them back in the day. So a lot of changes that have happened at USBC Nationals, but looks like we have a good deal of individuals on. So, we'll kind of jump into the topic here tonight. And like any other time, I will do my best to monitor the comment sections. And I really do encourage you to ask questions. The more that you ask questions and you interact, the more I think everybody gets out of these sessions, and it helps to not only educate, but for all of us to learn together and understand things in a way that makes sense. If there's anything I'm ever reviewing with you that's on one of these broadcasts that doesn't make total sense, I am a teacher first. So it's my responsibility to essentially teach in a style that is brought on by the person learning to their learning style. So sometimes it's hard to kind of grasp when it's just being spoken about. Some people are hands-on, some people like to read it, some people like to hear it, and everybody's different. So if you ever have any additional questions, by all means, obviously you can reach out to me on Facebook, call me on the phone. My number's public, or shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. So, um, this topic has been something I've covered maybe a little bit about when I talked about what some of the numbers on a bowling ball mean on previous broadcasts. But one thing we never really dove into is what really makes a well defined bowling bag, or an arsenal, if you will. And while the arsenals could be different between the league setting and tournament play, we're still going to approach those in a manner to try and ensure that we have the most variety we can with the amount of bowling balls we plan on carrying. Okay, so there's no secret that you're going to see individuals who go into a tournament, and you could see somebody lug in anywhere from 12 to 15 balls. Some people come in with 2 balls. Really, it's just to the extent of a couple things, right? Is how into the sport they really are, how much they really truly understand what they're going to be bowling on. Some of it comes down to financials. Bowling is another one of the sports which is not overly expensive per se, but when you're building out full bags, you're spending a good deal of money for your equipment, which are your tools. It could be comparable to a set of golf clubs. Putting a set of decent golf clubs in the bag and having variety in there could cost you $500 up to $2,000-$3,000 depending on what you get. The same thing goes for our bowling equipment. And one of the biggest, I would say, mistakes that I see from players that are asking questions about bowling balls is we're too quick to see the latest and greatest bowling ball that comes out, and we immediately say, I want to order that ball. And a lot of times we're ordering equipment without taking into consideration what the actual intent of that ball is and where it fits in comparison to everything else that's in my bag. Okay, so on other broadcasts we talked about the RG. We talked about differentials. We talked about intermediate differentials on an asymmetric bowling ball. We talked a little bit about surface preparations and what we can do to the tools we have in the bag. But one of the big things that we really need to understand is we need to have a variety of shapes in the bowling bag. And I'm here to tell you, a couple things have changed over the years, right? USBC has come out and does not allow us to use weight holes anymore. So right now, this is more important than ever, because if we drill multiple bowling balls and 2 of them are too close to each other, back in the day, we could generally usually put a weight hole in a bowling ball and change that bowling ball enough to make it different from one another. Okay. We don't have that luxury anymore. So we're really need to be laser focused in on understanding what bowling ball we are purchasing to put in the bag, and pairing that with a proper layout that is going to give us disparity between the bowling balls in the bag, and they're going to give you nice transitions when you go from ball to ball to ball. Okay, so if you're a tournament player, I would say most tournament players that are going out there probably have a minimum of 6 bowling balls in their bag. One of them generally is a spare ball. Some people like to use urethane to double as a spare ball. I, for one, am going to tell you, I think that's a terrible idea. Just because, urethane bowling balls hook so early. And I know everybody can say, well, I can flatten my hand out and this and that. But, when you're bowling on multiple conditions where you're going from short to long to medium and the volumes are low or high, that ball is going to be a lot more prone to not being consistent on pattern to pattern as it is having a polyester ball in the bag to actually shoot your spares. I feel it's the most important ball in the bag, first one that goes in. So if I'm a pro shop guy or I'm a competitor, all right, and I have the task of essentially laying out a bowling bag for a player, I have some choices that I have to make. So first and foremost, one of the things I think I would be the most adamant about and the most careful is everybody seems to have favorite brands. Okay, so obviously mine is the Hammer brand. It's the brand that supports me. And as we know, the brands of Brunswick, 7 brands. Storm owns three brands between Storm and Roto and Global, and then you have kind of Motive as an outlier, and some off the shelf ones that aren't as popular mainstream. But what we need to understand and we need to truly embrace is the fact that each one of the brands we need to treat as being separate. Okay, so even though the brands of Brunswick have 7 brands to choose from, which is amazing, each one of those brands, when we build out bowling balls as a manufacturer, we build from top on our high performance balls down to our entry level or in polyester, depending on what brand it is. And when those bowling balls are built, they're already designed and manufactured to basically fit gaps from top to bottom. Okay, so they'll fit from your strongest, your biggest asymmetrical bowling ball all the way down to your entry level bowling balls. Okay, and everything that kind of fits in between. Now, when I say that is, those bowling balls are designed from having, lower RG to higher RG, having bowling balls that are on the symmetric side from a lower differential to a higher differential. And then from the asymmetry side of it, again, you're going to have some low RG to high RG. And then you're going to have varying rates of intermediate differential to basically have core strength for how hard that bowling ball is going to kick off the back of the lane. Okay, great. So when I'm building out an arsenal for individuals, I'm going to ask those questions, I really want to try to sway the individuals to try to stay for the most part within a brand. Okay. So even though there's 7 brands that I could choose from personally, my main bag, even for myself, is comprised of pretty much mainly hammer bowling balls. Okay. Now I have outliers by all means. Generally you will see me drill one in some of the other brands that I think is what we'll call a special ball or, something that I think is going to be really good, or maybe it's, numbers wise and how it fits might even be a tad better than what I have in my own personal line. But the reason I stay within those lines is it is a lot easier to follow the manufacturing intention when I'm going from ball to ball to ball. Okay. So when I'm building this out, the manufacturers have already did the hard legwork for us. They gave us top to bottom line that we can drill, not have to get too crazy with layouts. And these balls will pretty much give us a natural progression from top to bottom. All right. It's awesome. And it's not specific to hammer. Brunswick has it. If you go over into the folks at Utah and Motive and anything like that, they're all doing the exact same thing. Okay. And the reason I'm so adamant about that is that we need to understand now, without the use of weight holes, okay, pretty much 80% of our ball motion is going to be dictated first by the surface preparation of the bowling ball. Okay, it has such a huge bearing on the performance of bowling balls is our surface prep. So when you have numbers and intentions and the cover stocks that are different from brand to brand to brand, when you start intertwining bowling balls from multiple manufacturers and you try to make a complete bag, you can very easily end up with some overlap because those cover stocks, okay, we really look at front to back movements on a bowling lane, where the bowling ball is going to see it. When you start mixing brands like that and cover stock strengths, they're different. You could end up with a lot of bowling balls that are going to be too close together. All right. And when you do that, you're pretty much eliminating the having 6 balls in the bag, right? If I have 6 balls in the bag and 2 or 3 of them start to overlap each other too much, there's not enough disparity in there, and you're going to feel like you're missing a ball. Okay. You may be chasing and feeling like you are essentially going to have to add another ball that you weren't planning on doing before. All right. So when I refine a bag and I'm building out an arsenal, okay, I'm going to really look at what I'm bowling. So let's take tournament play. And in a tournament play environment where I know I'm going to hit a variety of different styles of lane panels, oils that I'm going to run into, patterns, just, if I'm traveling, different different elevations, different humidity, different temperatures. There's so many anomalies that go into it, right? So if I was going to be drilling bowling balls, for a new client who's going to be going around, and I have the chance to do 6 balls, one being a spare ball first. If I'm going to pick out 5, I'm going to tell you for most individuals, I am going to pick out 3 asymmetrical bowling balls and 2 symmetrics, okay, to give them variety. And generally, I am going to go with probably, a stronger asymmetrical pearl. Definitely have a hybrid in there. And then our kind of, benchmark solid asymmetrical ball to control the asymmetry side. Okay. And then when I get into the lower end or the symmetric balls, I'm definitely going to have my benchmark ball, which is going to be my lane reader. And then probably something either on the hybrid or something maybe with a pearl cover stock later into blocks. Now, if I'm a league player, I need to really understand for that player, if I'm building out a bag for a client, how often are you going to different centers? Are you bowling in one center? Are you bowling in 2? What is the difference between the 2? And if I was going to be drilling for a league player, especially if you're from my area where there's a lot of friction, I'm going to change my school of thought, right? I'm going to pretty much probably put 2 symmetric balls in the bag, and then maybe one, middle of the range asymmetric ball. And it really comes down to the release parameters are for that player. Okay. Obviously, not all of us are built the same, right? We don't throw the bowling ball the same. So somebody that's got we'll call him Percy Pussnuckler, who has absolutely 0 rev rate, rolls the ball very forward. We're going to change up what we put in the bag because he's going to need some down lane help. He's going to need a little help with that core, and he's going to need help with the cover stock. So, it's going to be a much different decision for them as it is for, somebody like myself who's a little, heavy-handed, rev rate and speed is pretty matched, and I can really get on it. It vastly changes what I'm going to drill. Okay. If I want to perform at the highest level. So the pitfall, or you can go and you can call it quicksand, like I was talking about the other week, is I think too often or not, because of the way bowling balls are marketed and because of the amount of bowling balls that come on the market, individuals want to go and have a competitive edge. They like to have the newest, the latest, and the greatest bowling balls that are on the market. But I think what you really need to do is you need to take a step back and truly understand, what am I purchasing this ball for? So here's the thing you have to talk about with myself, if I'm your pro shop guy, or if you're not local to me and you're going somewhere else, is the individual who's working on refining your arsenal with you really needs to understand what's in the bag. Okay. So what I encourage individuals to do, and I think this is a good segment here and a starting point that everybody on here could kind of learn something from, is you should take a list of your bowling balls. Okay. Now these are pre-drilled numbers. All right. And go into your bag and what you're carrying right now, or what is an active play for you. And, write down or come up with a Google Sheets or Excel or whatever you want to use, and do yourself a favor and write down the name of the bowling ball. And then after that, you're going to write the RG, the differential, and if it's an asymmetric ball, the intermediate diff, what that cover stock is, whether it's, pearl, hybrid, solid. And then when you go through your list, go ahead and rank the bowling balls of the ones you really like, or your go-to ones in your bag. Okay. Because it's important. When you have that list, you want to make sure as you're looking through it and you're filtering it, are the numbers really similar on those balls? Are the type of bowling balls I go after? Do I have enough pearls, hybrids, solids, everything in the bag that makes sense? Because you will quickly see on paper where you might have a glaring hole and start to understand, when I'm looking at these bowling balls, these are the ones I like. And then I always feel like I'm kind of stuck here. I don't know what to go to. It seems like I got a hole. And then when you look at the numbers, you're going to quickly find out where that gap is. And you can make a much better decision with your pro shop operator to get a bowling ball that better suits your need, not what the last, because Hammer came out with a brand new bowling ball. Sure, I want you to buy Hammer balls, but I want to sell you the right Hammer bowling ball. All right. I want to make sure that you're getting what is going to yield the highest scores for you and your need that's within that bag. Now, if there's a brand new ball that comes onto the market and it is very similar in numbers to something you have, I'm going to ask you a challenging question. Are you adding this ball just to add it to the bag? Or are you adding this ball to replace it or for a purpose? All right. Anyone that has gotten a chance to essentially work with me or my staff, especially some of my staffers here, when they talk about a bowling ball with me, I challenge them back. I give them homework assignments. I make them explain to me, because we're learning, right? We're what I'm doing here is trying to help educate and learn. What you're looking at is pushing back and making the individual understand, is this a want, a need, or I'm not sure. So if it's a want, it's one thing. If it's a need, we're going to go after the needs, right? That's where we really want to live our life. We want to put bowling balls into our arsenal that make sense, that when I am in tournament play or bowling for score, that I have the best opportunity to essentially be able to ball change in a smart manner to get the desired outcome I want with ball reaction onto the lane. Okay. There's nothing worse, to me, in my opinion. I read so many posts so often that say, I can't outbowl bad ball reaction. I can understand how that feels, but if you build a well-defined and refined bag, a tournament bag, a league bag, whatever you're doing, if you build that correctly, I guarantee you're not going to say you had bad ball reaction. You're probably going to be able to self-assess yourself and finally say, I didn't throw it good tonight. I didn't throw it good at that tournament. Because we can give you enough variety and disparity to truly understand and make your ball motions make sense and work. But again, you have to do it the right way. We have to pick bowling balls based on the need. All right. So I'm going to take a sip here real quick, and then I want to take a look at a couple of these comments that are coming through, because I tend to get very long-winded and talk, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything important that came through. So let me scroll up here and see a couple that are on here. Hansel Javier, what's going on, my man? Robert Fusick, what's up, Joe? See you next week, man. It appears you're probably going to Towson. Finally be able to bowl last one in New York. Glad to be back on the land's best bowlers in the East. I can't. The East is tough, man. We've had a lot of conversations about, regionals and stuff and what the toughest is, and a lot of really good players in the East. So looking forward to Towson as well. Definitely going to have a better showing than I did in Buffalo a few weeks ago, but it's been really good since Buffalo. You just had to reset the brain a little bit and kind of jump back in there to what I know how to do, and that's, being mentally tough. So Matthew Magnigan, I like how RG categorizes things into HP 1, 2, 3, 4, makes it dumb and simple. It does. The one thing I might mention on that, Matthew, is what you're saying. Marketing is a tough thing, okay? And obviously, I represent Hammer. I work for the Hammer brand as a team leader in this area, and love nothing more to see our brands doing amazing, right? But we're just like in any other business, right? When we market any brand, even my own for Period, right? When we market, we want to market because the intention is that you're trying to increase sales. You're trying to be eye-catching to individuals. You're trying to differentiate and separate that our product is better than something else, okay? But I will say, when it comes to bowling marketing, I think we could probably do a better job with our marketing materials to really make bowling ball purchases make more sense. And what I mean by that is, when you look at shelf talkers, now everybody's seen shelf talkers, right? Like, they'll come up and they'll have the price tag on them, and then they'll show the images of the bowling ball going down the lane with the, this is this ball, and this ball is going to be inside of it and go around. This ball is going to be inside of that, right? The crazy part about that is so many individuals are when we market a bowling ball, it's the biggest hook and ball to date, right? Okay, great. It's the biggest hook and ball. It's a big ball. Okay, where is it hooked though? Right? What is the intention for that hook? Because when most clients come in to a pro shop, right, especially if it's just a league environment, most individuals are used to seeing their bowling ball hooked down lane. Okay, so they're used to seeing their bowling ball. You get so many people that say, I want it to go long, and then I wanted to hook, or I wanted to snap. Okay, now if I have a really strong asymmetrical bowling ball with a lot of surface and it's marketed as a hook monster, guess what? That ball doesn't really hook down lane. It's not designed to hook down lane. So what a individual is looking at on paper may be confusing. They say, well, it says it's the biggest hooking bowling ball in the market. Yeah, it is. Okay. Remember, there's phases to a bowling ball. They skid, they hook, and they roll. So that thing is a hook monster in the hook phase. But a lot of times when somebody's asking, I want a bowling ball to go long and really go sharp, what they're looking for is for it to roll off the end of the pattern hard, right? So it changed direction harder. That's not the bowling ball we're going to drill for you. Okay. We're not going to drill the big sponge, right? It just doesn't make sense. That bowling ball is designed to read the body of the lane or the heads or for a heavier amount of oil to keep players to the right. Um, you know, it's just the difference of how things are marketed. The other thing I love, and I make fun of it all the time, is everyone's guilty. Like when you're doing a review, it's like, oh, this hooks 2 more boards than this ball. This one hooks 4 more than the last release. Look, I've been in the bowling industry for a really long freaking time. Okay. If every single bowling ball hooked 2 more than the last ball, I would have to slide in California, throw the ball out around Rhode Island, and hope it hits somewhere up in the middle of Canada. It's just it's not feasible for every single bowling ball that's released to hook 2 more than the last one or 3 more than that, right? Again, we have to be realistic about ball motion, okay? Again, we want to build well-refined bags that make sense. So again, every single person that's on this feed or watches this going forward, okay, I would like to see you document what bowling balls you have in your bag, separate it by the numbers, and then really understand the disparity between those, right? And when you have questions of those, send those lists to me so we can talk through it together, right? I love nothing more than to educate individuals and help you make a really well-refined decision on what needs to be purchased for you, okay? And I'm going to touch on some other things as well. I want to make sure. Chris, doing well. Eric, seems like you're saying you did it yesterday. I'm assuming putting down your arsenal. Dan Schreiner, what's going on, my man? Hopefully I might see you this weekend. I don't know if you're bowling chacos or not. Ryan Snyder, thoughts on the Kegel way to build an arsenal benchmark? Ball up as you move left into more oil, ball down, the weak ball, urethane, and spare ball. I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I've never watched how Kegel does it. I guess the easiest way for me to explain it is that I guess there's a million different opinions of how ball motion works and what to do. But the problem is that the answer isn't the same for each and every individual, right? It's not the same. For a person that, what you're saying is that as I move left, I have to ball up. Sure, it could be, but it depends what you're bowling on. It could be a ball down. It depends if you're heavy-handed. It depends if you're very forward. It depends what zone you're playing on the lane. I had a really good lesson with a youth today, and we did a really awesome on-lane demonstration together, okay, to really understand his bag. And we were working with some asymmetrical bowling balls. We had a solid, we had a hybrid, and we had a pearl, okay? And I had him throwing these down the lanes, and we're talking through to understand what the differences between them are. And there was a lot of aha moments, right? And that really clicked and understood, because if you remember me just saying a little bit ago how much surface plays a part of ball motion, this is going to click really quickly. So when we looked at his bag, he had and I'll go, it doesn't matter what they were. He had a Rubicon in his bag, which had a little bit of lane shine on it. And then he had a Prism Warp hybrid in the bag, and then he had a Mega Crux, the Pearl version or whatever. Okay, so again, solid hybrid, and then Pearl. So looking at him quick, the solid bowling ball, different surface. The hybrid was box, so it was pretty shiny, and then the top end Pearl was dollar, right? So if I only relied on paper or what these bowling balls do, and looking at numbers solely, you should say I should be able to go ball to ball to ball, and the Pearl's going to go the furthest, and the hybrid's going to go the second furthest, and the solid's going to, go the earliest out of them. But guess what? I mean, the surface preparation of those balls, which one do you think went the longest? It was the hybrid. The hybrid, because the hybrid had a box surface on it. That ball went freaking 4 feet past the Pearl. And the solid, which should have picked up the earliest with the lane shine, was actually cleaner than the Pearl, because the Pearl he had hit just recently with a pad. All right. So again, the surface dictates so much of what we're doing. So when we're building arsenals and we're doing all these things, we have to keep in mind that no matter what arsenal I build you or somebody else builds you, your surface preparations of those bowling balls to be able to go from ball to ball to ball have got to make sense, right? If you have 500 grit on your Pearl asymmetrical bowling ball and you have lane shined up to 4,000 on your solid, the Pearl's going to go earlier, right? It just is. It's just physics, okay? So arsenals are great. We got to build them, but we also got to understand all the anomalies that go after it. We got to understand that how we deliver and how we throw a ball is unique to ourselves as well. Because if I drill a bowling ball for myself and I drill a bowling ball for you the same exact way, and you have a ton of axis rotate or a ton of axis tilt, and I have low axis tilt, the ball is not going to run the same for us. If your axis rotation is 60 degrees different than mine, ball's not going to roll the same for us. Our progressions are different. So where I'm going at with that, when I'm answering your question here, Ryan, is I think those are great for a baseline of how to build an arsenal. But the way I'm explaining it right now is why this is so important, and so important for each one of you to essentially understand your bag and your game and your release parameters and what surfaces work best for you. Because at the end of the day, all of these things and anything you're educated to learn on are baselines. Okay. They are baselines to truly get you started. All right. So each client that I work with, you would go through the gambit. Okay. Again, I'm going to go back to something I say all the time. You have got to have an experience where you're working with a pro shop person that is going to measure your PAP. They're going to measure your tilt. They're going to measure your axis rotation, and they're going to understand your rev rate. Okay. If they're not using those all in conjunction with one another, there is no way to build a proper bag. There is no way to differentiate a layout that is actually proper for that person to refine their ball motion. Okay. Once you have that person and you understand their parameters, the layouts will change vastly from person to person, and our ball selections will as well. Okay. A ball selection for a specific lane pattern is going to be different for myself versus Carrie, right? Carrie didn't make it home yet, but I know she's bowling league. But how we attack the exact same pattern, our bowling ball selections are rarely going to match. Okay. Our layouts are rarely going to match, and our progressions, they're not the same. Okay. So that's why I'm going there, Ryan, saying I've never really watched it because I have my own thought process. And it's pretty much what I'll say to you is it's tested. Okay. It's tested. It's proven. Be honest. I mean, I'm not patting ourselves on the back or anything, but we build champions. I mean, what we're here for is to make everybody better than yesterday. There it is. First time I said it tonight. But that's what we're here to do. And that's what we're here to educate. All right. Ben Rhines, every ball for the last 10 years have been longer and stronger than the last. It's not realistic. Correct. Okay. You're just reiterating what I said. I agree tenfold. Paul Bryan, yes, I gave you homework. I saw that you already got your lawn cut, so you have plenty of time to do this. You are no different. So get your list of those motive balls together that you throw. And, I think it's pretty cool exercise to talk through. And it doesn't matter what skill level you're on, right? It doesn't matter that, Paul, you bowl regionals and, tournaments all the time. It's a really good way of looking and assessing what you have and what maybe could be a little bit different for you, right? And it could give you a competitive edge to maybe take the next step. I know you're chasing, your first regional title as well, and I think it can happen for all of us. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Matt, need one of these shirts? Okay, first time maybe I'll plug it. I'm assuming you mean the polo I'm wearing right now. These are actually brand new. Um, as most of you know, I have a great sponsorship deal with Cool Wick Apparel, and they make some really amazing apparel for me to wear. I wear their stuff pretty much every day. Have a dedicated shirt line. We got tons of garb that comes from the Pure brand, but this is one of the brand new arson polos, and they just came in. I have these in stock, so your wish, Matt, I can get through on that right away. Dan, good to know you're going to Chaco's. I will definitely see you there. I'm looks like they're up to about probably 90 some entries again. So guys do a great job there, and always plenty of side action. So all right, Justin, do you think it pays to have an older ball in the bag for tournaments that you now will go longer than a Pearl hybrid makes sense? Let me put that up there just so like adds a sense of comfort. Sure. I mean, if you have I think what you're kind of referring to there is maybe a ball that you have a lot of confidence in and helps you relanes the lanes. And to me, that's really what a true definition of a benchmark ball is. Don't get too hung up on thinking a benchmark ball has got to be asymmetric. It doesn't. I mean, it really, a benchmark ball to me is the ball that I'm figuring lanes out with. That whether I'm bowling on house or I'm bowling on a pattern, trying to figure out what's going on. The most important thing is a ball that I trust. The ball I know what it's going to do every time it goes down the lane. Because I would say I have multiples of those right now. You know, Obsession Tour is huge for me, and even though that's it's a tour version, it's kind of a smoother piece, lower differential on that ball and that asim. Another one, Web Tour Hybrid always reads the lane very, very well for me. And most recently, one that I really get out of the bag a lot and it's been really incredible right now is the GB4. GB4, a strong symmetrical piece like that kind of fits in that line a little earlier than like a Hero or something like that. But it's another one that I can throw in the lane. So that's a non-hammer ball. So, but again, that was one of those that I felt was kind of special and different enough from things I had in my bag from the hammer brands, because when I went into the symmetrical bag, I was getting into knockouts and things like that, and my Fugitive had a ton of games on it, so it was a really good fit for me, as I wanted to pull the Fugitive out of the bag, and I put that really strong asymmetrical ball into the bag from the Ebonite brand, and it fits perfectly. Robert Mockenhop. Glad you're on, Robert. I'll probably see you in Towson as well, I'm assuming, but ball reaction is visual. Rely on the shape needed to match what the line is giving you based on your surfaces. Absolutely. I mean, it's just when you get to individuals that are teaching or talking and we're learning together here, there's different ways of saying it. And essentially what, Robert's telling you is a term you might hear me say is let the lane tell you what it wants. Right. So again, from a visual standpoint, the lane's talking to you. Okay. So the ball reaction that Robert's saying from a visual aspect, from a learner that wants to hear something talking, I know it sounds absurd, but the lane is telling you what it wants. Okay. And once you listen to what the lane is telling you, your arsenal that you have built around it, whether to go up or down. Okay. And your progressions change based on what you're bowling on. And again, when I went through this lesson today with Logan, we talked a lot about the differences between, a house shot where you have, oil and shim to your left and you have down lane help. Your progressions in that are different than if you have hang to your right, or in the inside of the lane's hooking more and it's flatter. Your progressions are not the same. If it was that way, we would have a master sheet of paper that said, okay, every single time you go from this to this to this to this. That'd be great, but that's just not how it works. All right. So again, Robert's saying visually is going to tell you what shape you need, and you can refine your front to back movements with the surface that's on that bowling ball. Just another way of saying it's awesome. Good comment on that one. Eric, half of my asymmetrical ball, let's see what this says here. Half of my asymmetrical balls are pinned down. both hybrid and pearl. I don't use solid cover balls very much unless it's really oily. And Eric, I don't know. Obviously, your release parameters and if you're rev dominant or speed dominant, pin down balls, obviously, especially in the asymmetrics, if they're both down, pearl and a hybrid version. I mean, a layout in that case is going to, slow it around the shape off a little bit on them, as you're definitely kicking the mass out closer to the valve, to the VAL, and you're laying your core over. You're essentially going to smooth those bowling balls out. Now, again, I don't know what your surface preps are in those. If you're a box, again, it's different for every single individual. With the use of no weight holes anymore, I don't drill a ton of bowling balls pinned down for myself. I got a couple in there, and they're kind of niche balls to slow them down a little bit. But a lot of stuff is up at this point. I don't do a lot of stuff down, because when I went down in the past, I usually did it with a hole to really specifically get the bowling ball to see the front more. I do it with surface. And I do it with balls that are designed, lower RG balls, things that are made to actually see the lane earlier. So I'm going to take a few more in here, and I want to explain one other thing. So the other thing, when you're building bowling balls, okay, and again, it's very easy to want the latest and greatest, right? Whether Hammer releases a ball, Columbia, any of the brands release a ball, and you're one of those individuals who are like, oh man, they got something new coming out, I want it. Again, we're trying to make sure it fits. But the other thing we really want to do is, when we're drilling bowling balls and when you're working with a good pro shop operator, you really want to make sure when you select a bowling ball, you're selecting a bowling ball that matches what the intention is, and not trying to use the layout of the bowling ball to to tone a ball down or to make a ball stronger. Okay. If I want a ball to skid down the lane and flip, I mean, I heard that so many times. Again, I'm not going to select a GB4. Okay. I'm just not going to drill you a GB4. I'm going to go into, let's say I was in the Brunswick line or something. I'm going to drill you a Zenith Pearl, or I'm going to drill you, if you get into the symmetrical bag, I'm going to drill you a Melee Jab Blood Red, or something that gets down the lane. It's designed to do that. I'm going to go with something that's, higher RG to get it down the lane. And depending on how hard you want it to kick, I'm going to select a bowling ball with a differential and what the overall flare potential of the ball is going to be, right? There is a proven method to refine ball motion. And again, I think the biggest key that I wanted to get out to everybody as you have your homework assignments here, and I really do hope that I get, my phone's going off like crazy and kind of giving me lists and stuff, is to really understand it together and start building out your bags to make sense. That way, when you're spending, all the money and the top dollar on this to have the tools that you need to be the best you can, you're doing so with a lot of intention. All right. It's pretty awesome. All right. Well, I will tell you what, let's fire some those additional questions that come through. But as we're doing that, I don't know when Carrie's going to get home, and hopefully I don't spoil this for her. She'll probably come running in the door. She didn't tell me no, but I know she was super excited today. And we just mentioned kind of the folks at Coolwick, but Carrie's pretty excited too. I had released my own, personal line, which has been amazing with the support that's going out there. The Better Than Yesterday line. Carrie has also worked with designers at Coolwick, specifically Stephanie Johnson, which is awesome. Steffi is a good friend of ours. And, Steffi and Carrie kind of went to the lab and got started here, and they are live now on Coolwick. So I am actually going to flash that up on the screen here. Let's see if I got this right. So Carrie has come up with kind of another term that we use and we like to describe for ourselves, especially when it comes to coaching and the way we approach the game is, and we use the term a lot, that is, do you. Okay, be the best version you can of yourself, not trying to mimic somebody else or essentially try to, like for Carrie, Carrie's not going to throw it like Shannon O'Keefe. Okay, Carrie's going to throw it like Carrie Smith. So we focus on making every single person the best version of themselves. So Carrie's line is do you. Let's see if I can get this a little bigger in here if you can see it. Um, but I thought the cool little thing with the do you, and this comes in multiple colors. It's live on Coolwick right now. I'll let her throw up a coupon code. I'm not sure. Hers is probably K Smith 10, but I'm not sure. But it's a cool little design, especially for the women out there. These are women's shirts. I'm not sure if they made them in men's shirts yet, but there's multiple colors. I think there's 5 or 6 available. Do you is pretty cool little thing, little bowling ball in the O there. The signature glass is basically Carrie wears glasses, and a little personalization with Carrie Smith on there. So thought it was awesome. So that one is live on Coolwick, and obviously you guys have this one has been selling like hotcakes in there, and that's basically the Better Than Yesterday brand as well, which is mine. And we ask everybody out there, if you're enjoying these sessions and the education and the things that we're doing out there, go over and grab that. Support us on these as well. I really think that it's all part of the identity of who we are, with Pure Bowling, and just overall great messages in life to remind us of how we can approach each and every day. Right, I'm going to be better than I was yesterday, and I'm going to share with you on these feeds when I'm not the best version of myself, and when I can be better, and when Carrie can go around and she can launch her line here and she can just do you. I mean, it's pretty freaking cool that we get to have our messages that are able to be shared with you right here, and they're available at your fingertips first time you're seeing them. So these are live. Go ahead and support it if you can. And anyone else out there, I mean, I've been going for about 47 minutes here, and hopefully it makes sense with what I'm trying to kind of get across the table here, which is really making sure that you're working closely with somebody to get the best bag you possibly can, because there is so much more into it than just saying drill 3 ASIMs and 2 SIMs, and it has to be these numbers and this numbers, because it's so specific to you. Okay, it's specific to you, and I promise you, if you are working with me directly, you're going to get that time from me. You're going to get evaluated on the lanes. We're going to have those numbers for each and every one of you to make sure that we are drilling optimal equipment for you, to make sure that you are going to score higher than you ever dreamed you could, right? Things will just start making sense. So I'll give it about another 30 seconds here to a minute. And if I don't see any other comments fly through from then, I will cut it off for the night. I will say that there's some announcements coming through since I'm a hammer guy. Obviously, I know everybody's eagerly awaiting. We've got a lot of the spoofs up there. Yes, gang, there's a purple hammer coming. Okay, it's coming. They're being made. We're not going to quite announce them yet, but you'll probably, I don't have an exact date for you. Okay, I can't share an exact date with you, but I would say it's probably sometime in May. There you go. But there will be some additional announcements on Tuesday of this coming week that is not pertaining to the Purple Hammer. So you can stay tuned for those. I think it's, again, it's another exciting thing that we can share on there. But I'm not seeing any other ones come through here. But, Jonathan just had one come through here. How about building a league versus tourney arsenal? Your thoughts? Let me hit that real quick, and then I saw another one that came through, and I'll try to hit it real quick. So I get asked this question a lot. Do I have a specific tourney bag, and do I have a specific league bag? I have crossover, okay, but I will say that there are some bowling balls that when I'm going out to bowl on flatter or lower ratio patterns, that will not make the trip with me most times, that would stay home and be just for league environment. So again, for myself, I bowled an area that has a ton of friction. And, I definitely, a lot of times I will throw a lot more symmetrical balls than anything. I will flare reduce a lot of those bowling balls. just because I know I'm going to have to get in and I still need them to corner. But I don't really feel like you need specific bags for league and tourney. The only thing that I would do as a pro shop guy for an individual, and it depends on their rev rate. We may mess around a little bit with some differences to the pin to PAP distances just to control flare a little differently. But when it comes to front and back angles, not changing it dramatically. And it's even less important now with using no weight holes because, drilling angles on symmetrical balls, CG doesn't really matter where it is. It's still all pin to pap. I mean, if I put the pin underneath your thumb and I put it over your bridge and the your axis point is the same distance, they're going to roll identical. So it has less bearing now than it did then. So I don't really feel you need to have two different bags, but you will have additional ball. Like if you're a tournament player, like a true tournament player, and you have, let's be honest here, more than 6 balls that are going in there, you're definitely going to have some bowling balls added to what I would say maybe would be pretty good on tournaments, but you probably wouldn't throw them in league. Maybe a little bit, stronger, seeing some higher volumes that you're not going to use on the league environment. So that would be what I would say on that aspect of that. Oh, this is a long one here, Scott. Let's see what we got here. One night I can bowl in a pair standing 15 and target 8 at the arrows and get to the pocket using our results 500, 1,000, 17 miles an hour, 11 tilt. Next time I bowl on that pair with the same radical results pearl, I can't get it to turn to the pocket. It runs over the 3-pin. What do I suggest to fix that? Well, that's a tough one, Scott. I mean, it sounds like, I'm not sure where you're bowling at. And we've all seen this, we see this in centers, the environment when the lanes were oiled, how well the upkeep is on the machine that's being used going down the lane. Were they truly oiled, or are you doing a breakdown? But I mean, every time that you go into a bowling center, whether it's for league or it's for tournament play, when you're practicing, the lane is going to tell you what it wants. So, in practice, if that's happening and in practice you feel that you can't get the bowling ball to see the lane, that's immediately telling me that I need to add a little bit of surface. So the ball's just shooting through the break point the whole time. But you have to be okay. Like, I don't know how many bowling balls you have in a bag. I mean, if you have a single ball or you only have one or two, I would encourage you to make sure you definitely have a pretty good understanding of how to use Aberline pads to refine your ball motion and bring it towards you a little bit or further down the lane if needed, because those surface adjustments can be made pretty quickly, and they can help you from night to night. We know pair-to-pair things can be different, especially in tournament play, who you're following. The other thing, even when you're in league play here, I don't know if you're bowling with the same people. It could be the amount of people that are on your pair, the style of the individual that is, and what bowling balls they're using. That greatly dictates how a pattern changes so quickly, and why having variety in the bag is really, really a true advantage, to have a little more disparity in the bag and be able to go from ball to ball. But we don't all have that the amount of cash needed to kind of do that. So I think what I would say, Scott, to you is when you're having those issues, is be cognizant and understand the styles of the bowlers that you're bowling with and what bowling balls they're using. You could be seeing something where, if a lot of those players are using a lot of surface, and what you may be seeing there is that the oil is just ripping the front part of the lane apart, and it makes the down lane feel tighter, because what's actually happening is your bowling ball is hooking early. It's not that it's not hooking at all. It's that it has no energy left by the time it hits the back end of the pattern. So it's a loaded question. I don't have a silver bullet to throw at you there to say, do this, and this is going to work every time, because again, it's going to be a little different. But pay attention to what the people on your pair are doing. So it might have a lot more to do with it than what you might have thought of before. Rob, first timer to your live talk, real good information. I need to start documenting my balls. Yeah, do it, Rob. And even if you're a first timer here, like I tell everybody every time we're on these broadcasts, we have a wealth of knowledge, and we have a library full of videos Go over, if you're not broadcasting and you're not coming through YouTube right now, a lot of you are coming through Facebook, which is fine. But if you go over to our YouTube channel, it's just Pure Bowling channel on YouTube. Every single broadcast that I have ever done is in that library. You will find pretty much anything you can think of. A lot of it, you'll see bowling balls going down the lane on Thursdays. You'll see a lot of talks with the top name pros. The one good thing about being in this industry for so long is I've made a lot of really good friends with individuals on the national tour, whether I work with them or competed alongside of them. And they're gracious to give their time to come on here. And a lot of times we'll talk about bowling balls together or just various topics. And it's pretty awesome to go in there. You can interact, and they are just as accessible as I am. A lot of times if you reach out to them, especially if they have a fan page or something like that, they'll answer that as soon as they can for you. But we're all here for the same thing. We want to educate. We want to help. We want everybody to be the best versions of themselves. And if there's anything I can ever do for anybody out there, I'm at your disposal. So reach on out. I will do my best. If I don't get back to you right away, I promise you I will. If I see your message, my shop is extremely, extremely busy at all times. But I will take the extra time when I have a little bit of downtime and try to answer your questions as thoroughly as I can. All right. All right, gang. That's basically the end of the broadcast for the night. So again, congrats going out to my other half, Carrie. I'm excited for your line. I may try to fit myself into a women's shirt just so I can buy one and support it. I will make sure I take a photo of it if it happens. And again, continue to support my message and my line as you can there. That Better Than Yesterday is near and dear to my heart. And I think it's awesome for not just bowlers, but for life in general. You can use my code on anything you see on Coolwick. It's at your disposal. You want 10% off anything on that site, jsmith10 will get you 10% off anything you see on there. And if you're local to me here, stop on by the shop. I got hundreds and hundreds of jerseys in stock. You don't have to wait. You come in, you'll walk out with them right away. But again, just like any other one, buy Hammer Bowling products. If you haven't done so, try out the Ultimate Interchangeable Thumbs. They're amazing. Grips feel great. Support local tournaments, support local centers, support your local pro shop if you're not local to me, and by all means support small business. We want to continue to do that as we're coming out of the down end of this COVID pandemic, and they still need us, right? Let's support them, and let's go do some bowling. So until next time, I'm signing off from you from Coach Smith, and if you have any topics you'd like to see in the future, reach out and give me some ideas of what you'd like to hear about. Have a good night, everybody.